Hello, what? Like, it's showing and then it's not showing. Like,
all right, bro.
I'm so confused. Like, what the fuck?
No more buddies. No more buddies. We record. We record now. All right, here we go, bro. Chop it down. Chop it down. Chop it down. You gon' chop it down. Chop it down. You gon' chop it down.
Damn, set, watch him throw the ball.
Man.
We gon' pick it off. You gon' let him hit the hole or you gon' cut it off. You gon' play through fourth and long or you gon' punt it off. Your defenders, heavy hitters, put your pads in. Don't be looking for the ref to throw no flags in. Keep the helmet on, keep the cleats tight. You the type to want to win by any means, right? You should look alive. This is Trap or Dive.
Yes, sir. Welcome back to another episode of Trap or Dive Podcast. I am your host, Mual, Jamal Forrest, Coach Mual, Hen Dog Mual, that good stuff, man. In here with the fellas, Dre, AJ. AJ going through it right now, but he's gonna have to muscle through without them AirPods for about 20-25 minutes, man. Fellas, how y'all doing today, bro? Y'all good? Y'all weekend was straight?
It's good, man. Shit, it's hot outside, but we still out here, man, getting
hot
things
as
done.
hell.
Yeah, but like I told you, we back in the basketball thing with little man, so I'm getting into that. But shit, man, the closer we get to July, the closer we get to the football, man. So I'm ready.
Hell yeah. AJ, what's going on with you, player?
You can hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you,
AJ.
Can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Hey, no,
Hey, take the AirPods out, bro. We done with the AirPods, bro. Take the AirPods out. We retired that for this episode.
It's annoying me, but yeah, I'm good, man. Just little technical difficulties. I don't know.
You're going through it, bro. It's frustrating sometimes, man. I get it. Okay. Well, while you frustrate yourself with them AirPods, man. We are back again. Well, sorry. Before we even get started, make sure y'all hit that like button. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. If you are listening through your favorite audio platform, make sure you hit that follow button as well. If you are not subscribed to the podcast, make sure you give us a rating and review. We definitely appreciate that, man, as we continue to push forward and get ready for the season. It helps a lot. So, like, if you got 2 seconds, man, just go ahead and knock it out, man. Help us out. Another thing, film sessions are on the way for the YouTube side. I got a couple that I'm going to do prior to training camp, just to get us a little primer for as the season starts or get ready for the season. Football back in the swing. As Dre said, in a few weeks, and we're seeing football until goddamn June of next year. That's me including the XFL. So yeah, man, we got a few things going, but yeah, film sessions are on the way. They're going to start dropping next week, the first week of July. First one starting with my boy Cole Turner. And it's a perfect time, I guess, to really even bring in this conversation on the position group breakdown of the tight ends, fellas. For Cole Turner, for obvious reasons, but also some other people who may have a big year this year. Unfortunately, Armani Rogers is going to be missed this year due to it was an Achilles injury, I think. So he's out the loop this year. Now we have Curtis Hodges, Logan Thomas, Cole Turner, John Bates. Your main 4 guys. Behind him is a guy named Brandon Dillon, who I'm not sure any of us know. So let's go ahead and eliminate 46 right now until he makes a case maybe in training camp or something. We could pay a little bit more attention to him. But we got our 4 guys at the top. Dre, I'm gonna hand you the floor first while AJ continues to push through with his situation. Let's start with the top, man. Logan Thomas is heading into his fourth year with Washington. And it's kind of crazy because, like, the more that time goes on, you kind of recognize that, first off, these guys really love him. The coaching staff do. But then secondly, you're talking about two two different coordinators who really believe what he can do for this offense. I'll hand you the floor before I give my thoughts as well. But let's start with the top at Logan Thomas and his prospects in this offense. So what do you think about him generally? And then we can talk about what he can do for this offense.
Well, I mean, Logan, his initial year with Washington, I thought he was great. I mean, he was more than what we probably all thought he could be as a fan base. I mean, he came out, he did it. And then the next year he suffers that horrific injury. And then you come into year three, that he was disappointing. It just looked like he was a step slow. It just looked like he hadn't recovered from the injury. But so this year coming up, it's like, all right, you look at the tight end group as a whole, you say, hey, someone needs to emerge from there. But I've been hearing a lot of good things in training camp as far as Logan Thomas looks like he's back. He may be that guy again. But as you said, now there's two different coordinators that are putting belief in Logan. So, someone has to see something in him at this point to say, hey, we're not going to move on from him, because as a fan base, I think a lot of us were kind of thinking maybe he could be a cut candidate before June 1st. But obviously he wasn't. He's still here. And I mean, he looks he has to be the guy because we don't know. I mean, obviously we'll get into more of the guys later, but we don't know who else behind him could be tight end number one. And Logan has flashed that at least before his year one here that he was a tight end one. So now you wonder if he's fully recovered or 100% from the injury, is he ready to take that spot back and claim that? Because if he does, I think this makes the offense sky's the limit for this offense because we obviously like the position group with the wide receivers and, some of us like the running backs, but the tight end group's the question mark. So if Logan can kind of recapture that 2020 season that he had with Ron Rivera and the staff, then I believe that your offense just gets a lot better with a better Logan Thomas.
Before I get started, let me go ahead and bring AJ back in the fold. And boom, there we go. Okay. For me, I think that Logan is interesting from like how people are describing him. I'll just do my pros and cons of Logan and then like how I kind of feel he's looking this year. I think one of the things when you think about Logan, I'll start with the cons. I'll start with the negative first and finish with the positives. I think one of the things that really bothers me is that, Logan isn't necessarily a natural separator versus like tighter coverage or like he won't really separate through his athleticism and things like that. And sometimes that doesn't really hurt him because he is 6'6". And that's a really good thing for this overall position group because everybody is at least 6'5". So that's automatically a good thing for this entire position group. I think they average like 6'6" in terms of their like they have a pretty big frame, everybody on this team from that position. But at the same time, Logan isn't necessarily a person who operates with his athleticism. So he's not a person who can really win as quick as you would want at the position. He's like a lumbering guy. He's more of a straight line guy in terms of like how he can get open. And how he moves, but he's not going to break you down with his routes and things like that. But at the same time, what I really like about Logan is that he does separate in zone coverages, and I think that bodes well for him when you have somebody who can really process things really quickly in terms of what he's seeing on the field, and what he has to do in terms of working with his quarterback to get open against this particular coverage or how they're playing that offense or how that defense is playing them. And what that means for Logan is you can find a way to get open on that first and second level without really needing speed or athleticism. Like I think about Chris Cooley in that aspect. Like Chris Cooley wasn't like the most athletic person, but he also wasn't as big as Logan Thomas. But the point being, like they weren't athletic tight ends. But I do think Cooley was a little bit more athletic than Logan, but point being, like Logan is a person and Cooley was a person who was very smart and they have really good hands and they high pointed a lot. Like these are things that they did in the game that made them assets to an offense. And I think that prospect of Logan in terms of how he's able to separate, how Bieniemy can utilize a person that is as smart as Logan on the field. I think that's what really bodes well for him moving forward. Like some of those over routes, some of those crossers, like the mesh concepts, and even like third down can be big for a guy like Logan. So for him, it's not necessarily about his mental, because the mental is going to be there. Like, you have no question that he's smart enough to still compete on the field. But the injury aspect is something that can really see, like, is he fully back athletically? AJ said he was ready, bro. But is he really back fully athletically? I did see towards the end of the season that he was getting better. I was very against Logan in terms of like how he played when he first came back and up until the last 3 or 4 games of the season. But at the same time, he turned the corner, I felt like. And I think that was really important for Logan in terms of like how people viewed him going into this year. One more thing, and I'll give it to AJ. Dre, you brought up a really good point about like how people was willing to move on from him, including myself. And to this day, I still think that I would have been perfectly fine letting Logan go. Armani Rogers got hurt, so that changes plans. But I would have been perfectly fine with letting Logan go. But I also, another thing that I just didn't take into account is how much this staff loves Logan. And I think that's the thing that keeps him around. And that's the thing that if their faith in him pays off, he can have a pretty significant bounce back season for the Commanders. Does that mean we're talking about 800, 900 yards? I don't think so. I don't think he's that good. Again, when we talk about athletic standpoint too, I don't think he's that good. But and on top of that, he's aging. He's 31. But at the same time, if you're talking about a Logan Thomas who can get you 400 or 500 yards and 5 or 6 red zone touchdowns with the other tight ends that they have at that position group, I think that's a really good season for Logan. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with Logan. Let me see if AJ is available. Let's bring AJ in right now. Boom. Okay. AJ, you got the floor, man. We talking about Logan Thomas. What do you think of him, and what do you think about like his prospects in Bieniemy's offense?
Yeah, my bad for the audio and visual issues or whatever. So I'm going straight off the iPhone. But with Logan Thomas, man, I really don't have much expectations for him. I think that, he's not really a threat, in my opinion, as a tight end in this league. And it's unfortunate that they still don't have, a real threat at that position. Was hoping that Armani Rogers was going to come in and be able to be that threat, utilizing his physical abilities as far as like just being athletic overall. I think just that threat of being, someone that could go vertical, but also bring speed. You could use him in the jet sweep game. You could use him in so many different aspects alongside, the Terry McLaurin, Jahad Dawson, and Curtis Samuel. With him now having the ACL, it's kind of like you don't really know what to expect from the tight end position overall. It's going to be interesting. But from what I've been hearing from a couple people that have been at these mini camps and several OTAs, they're saying that Cole Turner looks leaner, looks faster coming off the ball. But for Logan. You said what?
Logan.
We're just talking about Logan, or we're talking about the tight end
from Marty to Cole Turner.
Oh, I mean, I don't really have no expectations for Logan Thomas. I mean, if you really just want me to sum it up that way, I don't really have any expectations. I think that he'll look a little bit better coming off of the ACL injury. But other than that, I don't really see him being impactful.
All right, well, let's go ahead to your boy Cole Turner then. Talk to me about Cole. What were they saying at OTAs and minicamp, and we'll transition that way.
Well, I guess they're saying that he's looking leaner. He's coming off the ball faster, but in my opinion, he's not a route runner anyways. So he's more so a 50-50 type of player. I think he's someone you could put on the boundary in red zone opportunities and, possibly have him be in a jump ball situation. But I'm not looking for this guy to route anybody up between the numbers, going downfield. So, I mean, that's pretty much what I've heard from Cole Turner, that he's looking faster coming off the ball and leaner. but I don't know how that will translate to his route running game.
And shoot, man, actually, Cole Turner is the guy I'm most intrigued about in this group because I mean, last year when we drafted him, I mean, we got him, I think, in the 4th or 5th round. But looking at him play with Carson Strong in Nevada, I was like, man, that dude stands out. Like, I mean, even with Romeo Dobbs on that roster, Carson Strong has some weapons. But again, Cole Turner was a guy that always stood out. And even last year in training camp, he was a guy we were looking at, and then I think he suffered an injury early on, and that kind of derailed him, and that slowed up his progress. But I mean, if you're looking for any of those guys in the group, we're gonna get to the other guys later. But Cole Turner is the guy for me with the most potential out of the group. I mean, I agree with AJ in the sense that he's not the route runner, but I mean, he is a big body guy. He's a big target, and I think if you get him in space, he can run. I mean, he can do some things after the catch with the ball. So I mean, I don't know if you can really put him in the run game too much, as far as blocking. I never seen that as much of one of his strengths. But again, if you're playing 2 tight end sets, he's a guy I want to see out in space and get the ball. And he's a guy I would love to see emerge as the tight end 1. I mean, with Logan Thomas, we kind of have to have him at tight end 1 right now because he's the only proven commodity, even though we, kind of thought he had an off season or, after his injury. But Cole Turner is the guy that going forward, if, any of these guys are looked at as a starting tight end, you want him to kind of go and take that job. So I'm really intrigued to see what he brings to the table this year. And I hope he, can show some potential or some flashes there.
I think this is also a hard position for us to cover, man, because it's the weakest on the team, honestly. Like, there's really no optimism there. Like, at least the offensive line.
I don't know if it's.
Well, the thing is about it being the weakest, I'll say, I mean, AJ, he's on the side. I don't know if it's the weakest position group on the team, but it's the most incomplete unit on the team. Like, it's the unit with a bunch of guys we don't know what they can do. Like with John Bates, I mean, again, these guys, we don't know we haven't seen them do it at the pro level at a consistent basis. So that's why a lot of these guys, even Logan, everyone has a question mark. I don't know if they're bad. We just don't know what they can do. It's more so incomplete.
But I will say one thing though, Cole, I disagree with both y'all on Cole, in terms of his route running. But I don't want to come across as saying that he's like a Kelsey or you think about like a Waller, or you think about like some of your top tight end route runners. I think what Cole brings, because first off, he's a little stiff in terms of how he runs routes, but the thing that Cole has is like the quickness in terms of getting in and out of his breaks. But he's also smart in terms of when I mentioned with Logan, Dre, Cole brings some of that mental processing from a standpoint of like reading coverages as well. And for those who are listening and watching, don't forget film session next week, first week of July on Cole Turner coming out. You can see what I'm talking about, what I'm referring to. But like that's kind of what Cole Turner brings in terms of if there was somebody on this roster at that position who can quote unquote dot somebody up with their routes, that is the person in this position group who can do that. He also knows how to get off the line of scrimmage against several different coverages: press man, off man, off zone, squats. Like he knows how to do those things, and I think that's the person that Bieniemy could utilize from what AJ mentioned, which is also a really good point, from that isolated alignments, boundary receiver type, or a big slot type, or a person who's he can even win in line as well. So I think that's the person when you look at who can really, win downfield from a route running standpoint, it's Cole Turner. Curtis is an unproven commodity. Armani wasn't really the best route runner. John Bates he's just a natural tight end, like your prototypical big body tight end who's really good in the run game, and he's a solid receiving tight end. He's nothing special there. But I think Cole Turner is the one who packs a punch and packs that explosive nature or explosive playmaking ability from the tight end group in terms of like being able to make big catches for this team. And there was one thing that you mentioned too, Dre, that was important. And I think this kind of expands the conversation, so we can move on from Cole if we aren't if we're done there. But you mentioned Dre, like they're unproven commodities. And I also don't know if Cole, I respected how he attacked people in the run game. I don't think he was that good in the run game, but I appreciated his competitiveness. And I think like if he continues to build on his frame, that if that play strength matches his competitiveness, then you're talking about a person who can be a more complete tight end. Point being, like those tight end packages that you can bring with these guys in this offense. I'm talking about 3 tight end sets, 2 tight end sets, all those type of things that you can heavily put into a game plan each week, because like they have potential to be mismatches. It just depends on how Bieniemy wants to use this. Like you don't want to obviously take off Terry off the field. You don't want to take Jahan off the field. But if you find ways to like mix and match, and that's going to be Bieniemy's job, I think that is something that can really unlock this offense, especially from a team who really didn't use the tight ends good or enough last season. These guys have something here. And maybe Cole Turner, I think another question mark with Cole too. And I guess I wasn't done with him. He missed 7 games last year. He hurt his hamstring in training camp. He missed all of preseason. And then he comes back, and then he has a concussion that knocks him out for 3 more weeks after like 2 or 3 games played. And that severely hindered his rookie season and his ability to really get in a rhythm, things like that. That's not an excuse for Cole, but it's more so about like we need to make sure that Cole can really stay healthy, and so we don't have to talk about if only he can stay healthy. Like his health is a question mark. His ability to stay clean and stay on the field is a question mark right now. And fingers crossed he's able to do that in year 2, because all of these OTAs and mini camps, because this is 2 years in a row that AJ alluded to, like his name has been popping, like it's out there, but don't mean nothing if you can't stay healthy when it really matters.
And I guess that's where it goes back to the position just being one of the weakest links, in my opinion, within the organization. I feel like you have Logan Thomas, who is an aged player that converted to tight end. He also is still learning the nuances of the game. He really didn't get high reps until he came to Washington. And then when he did get some momentum, that's when the injury happened. And you're relying on him, but he's also never been one that's been not necessarily a burner, but he's never been one that's quick and athletic enough to really play the position how a lot of the teams that utilize their tight ends will do so this season and so on. And especially with the Eric Bieniemy system, he just doesn't really fit from that standpoint. Then you add in Cole Turner. I forgot all about his injury history, and I probably forgot because I guess I didn't really count him towards the team.
That's completely fair. That's real. That's fair.
Because he was never available, so it's not someone that I thought of. The only tight end I really knew that they utilized to some degree, but he's really a blocking tight end is Bates. So it's kind of like it's open, and I think I anticipated this team to bring in more competition, whether that be a veteran or someone that's been in the league for a couple more years, or at least some bodies for camp, just to see if you might get an outbreak player, and they haven't really done that. And I think that's going to be an interesting thing to watch during training camp and also preseason. And also when it comes down to cutting down to a 53-man roster, be mindful of who they add from waivers or possibly make trades for, because they have to be looking for somebody of a more athletic frame at tight end.
But you don't think Cole Turner is kind of that athletic frame at tight end? Because I always kind of viewed him as almost an extra wide receiver if he were to get on the field. I mean, that's the type of guy I thought he was at tight end.
Turner?
Yeah, Cole Turner.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that's how Nevada tried to use him. I guess maybe I didn't watch like a bunch of his tape, but I watched a good amount to see that I didn't really like his route running. Mual, I know you do that more so than I do, especially doing the review videos. But I just didn't really see any wiggle out of this guy. I just seen someone who was a 50-50 ball, kind of like. But you also like Drake London. So maybe he remind you of a Drake London a little bit, but from the tight end position.
Yeah, I'm ignoring you. Yeah, I ain't paying attention to nothing you saying right now.
Nah, you gotta
Drake London.
you gotta
Drake London,
preference,
best,
like,
best.
you like big body wide receivers, right or wrong?
Well, I mean, I gotta make sure they got a voice, somebody in their corner. That's for sure, 100%. Because Drake is that dog. He a dog, boy. He got that dog in him, bro. And I need people to know that it's gonna be a big year for Drake London. Hey, don't get me started talking about Drake London, bro. I was about to go on a 5-minute rant. Let me shut up. Go ahead. You got the floor. I mean, look, I don't like call. So, if like this whole position group is so. Matter of fact, Dre, to your point, you mentioned athleticism. I think Armani and Curtis are the clay. What is that thing, like the unshaped clay or something, or unmolded clay or something, like the raw clay? Yeah. What like, you know what I'm like? Those are the ones. Those are the athletic freaks. And Curtis is 6'8", 240, and has like some leg. He has some wheels to him, and I think those are the ones that really need the work to fine tune how they run routes. They already have I think both of them played quarterback, right? Curtis and Armani.
I know Armani did.
I know Armani did.
Sure about Curtis.
I believe.
Okay.
Curtis
and point being, like, okay. So
I
just think to that extent, like those, yeah, and those were your athletic guys that moved better than anybody. So to y'all's point, like I think we're completely aware, like Colin is the most athletic guy, but I think he's the most nuanced route runner, and I think that's why he can really flourish in Bieniemy's offense. John Bates, first off, do we have any expectations? I'll get to John Bates in a second, but do we have any expectations on Curtis Hodges? I think, like, I was not surprised after I went to the FedEx field practice, and I saw Armani. First off, I saw Armani cooking then, but then Dre, when we went to mini camp or OTA last year, and I kept looking for Curtis Hodges, and I was watching who I thought was Curtis. I looked at my roster and I said, "That's Armani Rogers."
We did the same thing.
This motherfucker is cooking. Like, and that's when I was like, I wasn't surprised that in that moment. I was like, I'm not surprised that Curtis was the one that took the back seat and ended up getting the practice squad, and Armani made the active. But I think Curtis had some buzz to him where it's like, you know, okay, let's try this again. Armani's gone. You have your opportunity, but what can he really bring to this offense? I don't know if you all have any expectations for Curtis. I think we kind of dove down from a macro standpoint that we don't know what to expect from a unit that's so improving. But, like, what can we see from Curtis in a situation where what we have 1, 2, 3, 4. I mean, do we even keep 4 tight ends? I would imagine we do. But, like, do we keep 4 and does all 4 see the field, like the offense? Like, do they even see significant snaps? I don't know.
And so that's the thing, because we already established that.
Well, mainly Curtis. I know that Logan's going to see snaps, and I know that Cole is going to see snaps, and I know John is. But what about Curtis?
But see, that's the thing. Like I said, because with tight end 1, we pretty much established that Logan's going to be that guy, at least to start the season, unless someone just emerges. But tight end 2, I don't think we have a clear-cut guy there. And, you know, going into OT or training camp and, you know, preseason or whatever, I think that position's totally up for grab for 3 players. And that's Bates, Rogers, and Hodges. And Hodges was a guy, like you said, he did have some buzz last year, but then he got injured. He got injured in September. Like, the whole group was sustaining injuries for the most part throughout the season last year. So no one could get any momentum. So that's why as we talk about this group, it's so incomplete. But Curtis is a guy that's going to have a chance. You know, now if he comes out, he looks better than, you know, the other 2 guys we mentioned, he has a legitimate chance to be a tight end number 2, because they do seem to like him. I mean, they had him. I mean, he was on the injured list for the most part of last season. They could have got rid of him at any point after the injury or any point after the season, but he's still here. They didn't go up and upgrade the tight end room like we had, you know, talked about They didn't go out and get extra bodies. They pretty much brought the same group back from last year. All of those guys are back this year. So that tells me that, especially like I said, with Logan already establishing himself as tight end 1, no one has established themselves as tight end 2 yet. I mean, I think John Bates will get his reps because he's probably the most complete in terms of he can block and you can put him on the field and stick him there. But as far as talking about who can be that other receiving threat in the tight end room, that position is totally up for grabs. And I do think Curtis has a legit chance. Like you said, last year he had some buzz, but we didn't see enough of it. So if he's still here, that means they like him and they think he has a chance to, maybe compete for that spot. And like I said, this may be the most incomplete position group, but it's an intriguing position group because we really don't know what we have behind Logan.
I don't know. I think Curtis, first off, I think Curtis is going to have to, what it's going to take for Curtis to even see to make any significant impact offensively. And I'm not saying be a superstar this season, but I think what's going to take is his name's going to have to buzz in training camp. It's going to have to noticeably stand out. Obviously this is excluding the health conversation for all tight ends. Obviously the main thing is everybody has to stay healthy, but in terms of what he has to do, he's going to have to stand out in training camp. That's going to have to show through preseason. I know last year when I was watching some of the preseason tape, Curtis was a guy, and Armani to an extent, both of them, and they were raw. So it's nothing wrong with that. But these were guys who struggled in terms of their releases, being able to get open quickly or being able to get open against certain type of press man or soft press. Those things were hindering them. And zone was a different story, but soft press and press, they struggled. So are they able to show that they've learned after that? Curtis, is he going to be able to show that he's learned from a repetition standpoint, a technique standpoint, that he can really do something in this offense and he can do something at the tight end position, especially in the pass game? John Bates, I don't have much words for him. I think we kind of know who he is. He's that stable businessman. He's going to put you on your ass in the run game. He's going to block his ass off in pass protection. He may not be the best in terms of some of the better edge defenders or pass rushers, but at the same time, you're going to get your best in the run game. He's a gritty guy, but he's also a person who you can trust with his hands. I don't know if he's a 3-level threat. I don't think he is. Maybe off of play design, he can get you down. He can get to the 3rd level. He can sneak up there. But that's kind of how I view John Bates. I don't have no spectacular words for him. He just gets his job done.
The boring guy.
Yeah,
The boring guy.
It's just you're hoping that someone breaks through within this camp that's coming up and through the season. I know that Curtis Hodges is 6'8". I want to say probably 250. But I don't really know much about him, his athleticism, anything. The main issue with this group is staying healthy. Bates was one of the guys that could stay healthy, but he also isn't a threat within the passing game. He's strictly pretty much a blocking tight end. So that's why it'll be intriguing to see how everything plays out in training camp. Whatever, I think I'll make maybe a bold prediction here. I think that as training camp and preseason goes on, you possibly see Commanders, once this ownership stuff gets settled, possibly call up the Chiefs and see if they can get a guy like a Jody Fortson, who's been pretty much a rotational tight end in Kansas City with Kelsey and Gray over there. Possibly see if they can bring him over. You don't have to learn the system. He's athletic enough. He's played within the system, knows what EB would want. Kind of get him in, and he can play immediately and make an impact for himself to get an opportunity to be a full-time starter. Because I just can't. You're relying on too many guys to possibly stay healthy, and two of the main guys you kind of counting on have a checkered injury history recently. So it's if one of those guys goes down, you're automatically already screwed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll go ahead, Dre. You got it.
No, I was just gonna say, I mean, that's true what AJ said, but with John Bates, like you said, Maul, I mean, he's the boring guy, but at the same time, I feel like he is kind of needed in that tight end room. Now, I don't know if he's a tight end too. He somehow projects more to me as a tight end 3, which is fine because tight end 3s get in the game and you use them for special purposes. Like I think he's good in the red zone, good on the goal line, especially in those big packages, those jumbo packages. John Bates is that guy you can put, and he can block, and he can actually go out and he can receive, he can catch a pass if you need him to. But like you said, he's not a 3-level threat. I don't expect him to be any kind of downfield threat at all. But he's a guy in the intermediate passing game. Like I said, in the goal line, short yardage situations, you can even have him blocking. He can go out, he can catch a touchdown pass in the red zone. I mean, which is cool. But I don't see him as the tight end 2. So, I mean, I know he's going to be in that conversation because no one has emerged as that guy. But I expect more of a Curtis Rogers, Cole Turner to kind of, maybe be one of those guys that can back Logan up or maybe even possibly challenge Logan down the road. But John Bates, again, I think he's steady. I think he's needed on a roster, but I don't think there's much excitement about John Bates.
You ain't lying. He is needed though. I think for what it's worth, like he is their best blocker. And for them to not, again, like I said, I like Cole's. His effort was there, and I think he can build on that. And to an extent, I like Logan's effort, but I'm not really a fan of Logan in the run game. I think he made some business decisions that was pretty obvious on tape. So I don't know. I got to see a little bit more from him. But at 31, I don't think you're gonna see more. I think you're gonna get who you got. Or maybe Bieniemy lights the spark into these guys, and I'm just dead wrong, and everybody steps their game up because Bieniemy ain't fucking around with them. So I guess we'll see. I think we're good. I mean, look, if y'all know Brandon Dillon, talk to me. Because
I don't know him. I
ain't got nothing for him.
You said something.
Yeah, I ain't got nothing for that guy, Brad.
I seen he got up after Armani Rogers got injured, so they probably just needed an extra camp body. So that seems like
I tried to do research before our show. I think he was with the Vikings, but outside of that, I just know he's Caucasian.
Time to pack it up, man. Okay. All right. Hey, look, man, that was it for us on this episode. We will be back. Who do we got? We got quarterback and we have linebackers. So we'll be back with linebackers next, and I'm going to try and get Linnell on to do quarterback with us to close out the position group breakdown. So fellas, that's it, man. Look, enjoy y'all evening. For everybody that's watching or listening, appreciate y'all watching and listening. Enjoy whatever your morning, day, whatever time you are doing so. But fellas, y'all be safe. AJ, man, look, don't stress yourself out too much. I wouldn't worry about getting a new MacBook. Them Jones are OC expensive, and I paid mine off after 3 years, so that shit was not fun. So yeah, I wouldn't really trip off that.
It's just one of them days, man. It's just one of them days with all these Apple products. So yeah, but I mean, it's all good. My iPhone, my AirPods, my MacBook, all being weak, just like the position group that we just covered today.
No, this is one of them days.
Yeah, one of them days, man. One of them days, bro. That's gonna wrap it up. That's gonna wrap it up for us, man. We out of here until next time. Peace.
Damn, set, watch him throw the ball. We gon' pick it off. You gon' let him hit the hole or you gon' cut it off. You gon' play through 4th and long or you gon' punt it off. Your defenders heavy hitters, put your pads in. Don't be looking for the ref to throw no flags in. Keep the helmet on, keep the cleats tight. You the type to want to win by any means, right? You should look alive. This is Trap or Dive.